launch that because they are talking to banks, and the banks said, we do not want to move value with a volatile asset. We don't want to send $1 billion. It moves, 1% in the wrong direction, and we lose $10 million. It's just not a good way to do business. So as soon as they launched RLUSD, the need for a high value XRP was totally unnecessary. It basically made it to where XRP is a gas token. It takes 0.00001 XRP to execute a transaction. That it burns it, yes, but the sheer volume of transactions that would need to occur over decades is not even going to put a dent in the supply. So there is literally no need for a high value XRP. Please do your research. I don't want to take up the whole show on this. David, how's it going, brother?
XRP to zero, bro.
And don't get me wrong, and David agrees with me, trading XRP short term, there's a lot of volatility and money to be made in that. But buying and simply holding because you see that XRP is going to $589 or $10,000, there is literally no logical reason for it to do that. And there's no legal obligation for Ripple to ensure that the price even goes up, because there was a whole lawsuit about it. Judge Torres ruled XRP and most crypto tokens are not securities. So they have no legal obligation to ensure that you profit. They have 1 billion tokens per month that unlock that they can fully dump on the market. They don't always. They sometimes relock a portion of it. But 1 billion tokens a month could be dumped on the market by XRP or by Ripple, sorry.
Like Mike, I can't figure out what their product is. Like Ripple Labs has been around forever. Whenever I see content on social media about Ripple or any of the guys behind it, like it always sets off my radar, my red flag radar. Yeah.
yeah.
Like David Schwartz looks like a fucking pedophile, bro. Like whenever I see shit like, talking about him or like that he did something in like 1988 with crypto or like some bullshit, it's always bullshit. It's always scammy. And I can't figure out what their business model actually is.
It evolves.
Dude, it's nonsense. I think their business model is just dumping on XRP holders. I think that's literally the business model.
So far, that's been the case, because if you look at the data on DeFi Llama, if you look on RWA.xyz, there's next to nothing happening on the XRP ledger. It's been steadily decreasing over time. And their product was RippleNet, for cross-border remittances and, cross-border payments, the movement of value.
Even that, like on its face, makes zero sense.
Oh, no, absolutely. Like, I'm just saying that was their initial product. And then
like how in the fuck it's number 4, bro? Ripple is number 4 by market cap. Like,
XRP, not Ripple.
XRP. Excuse me. Yeah, XRP. But bro, $90 billion market cap. That
for what?
For what? It should go to zero, man. It should go to zero. Like there's no there.
Well, it doesn't generate any fees hardly. So what is that market cap based off of, other than the fact that, a bunch of people saw social media posts and bought into it because they think they're going to get rich overnight?
It's just a
the
shame.
Past 5 years, I've heard, all of the shillers talk about how, this is the court judgment that XRP wasn't a security, was supposed to send it to the moon. It didn't. It barely moved. And
but Mike, the thing that's so gross about Ripple and XRP is the social media content. Like, dude, literally every piece of social media content that I've ever seen that's been sent to me, from people who are like overzealous about XRP and Ripple, like every single piece of content, every single one. Like we're about to go through like, how to spot scams today. Like, dude, that is a great example.
And this is why I brought this up, because Ripple, they started out with their product being RippleNet. And they've since evolved. They've steered away from that, because the old narrative was that it was replacing Swift. Swift is upgrading its system with Link and Linea. They do 1/6 of all movement of value, around the globe. Swift does. It's massive. It's been around forever, but was outdated. Its technology was outdated, but they're updating that. And Ripple saw that, and now their focus is they dump XRP. Their business model is they dump XRP for liquidity to buy other companies. They're trying to become a bank now.
I mean,
It's
it really would not surprise me if some of the guys at the top get indicted. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I would be like, oh, if I heard that news, I would say, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It was just a matter of time because like it doesn't pass the smell test. Like
no.
Ripple and XRP doesn't pass the smell test. Like it doesn't do anything. It's got a massive market cap. They've been dumping on token holders since for the entire existence of the token. Like, and it's never done anything. And it's always been, oh, don't worry, man, partnerships, and we're going to do something tomorrow. And don't worry, partnerships are coming, and stuff is coming, and nothing ever happens. And finally, they launch a product, and it's a stable coin, and it's on Ethereum. It's just like,
Yeah. No, it's
like
last
what?
I looked, it's probably more now. Last I looked, it was like 60% of RLUSD is on ETH mainnet. It's not even using the XRP ledger, so it doesn't even use XRP as gas, let alone anything else.
It doesn't make any sense
really
to
need
me.
to learn about the projects they're investing in and stop being lazy and just looking at social media posts.
Yeah, man. Because like Mike, it's one thing to say that like Wispy's saying, it's one thing to say that crypto's overvalued right now. That's one thing, but it's a completely different thing when you look at Ripple and XRP. Like that really, to me, that looks like a straight up scam of some type. Like
Yeah.
it's not just overvalued; it looks like some type of horrible fraud. So allegedly, or whatever,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it looks like. That's what it
Well,
looks like.
David, let me read this to you because I really want your input because you're obviously much smarter than I am, when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah,
But they
I just got back from the Leering Center, Mike. I've been
yeah, no,
leering.
I know that about you. You're all about the leering.
Yeah.
So it says they could literally cause, and this is talking about Ripple. They could literally cause a liquidity shock today if they wanted to, or stop unlocking escrow. There's a million ways to increase price. Apparently, crypto is for people with a higher IQ than 7. You may need to find a new hobby, sir. So, obviously talking to me. So, like, one, they don't know what they're talking about because the escrow is automated. It unlocks 1 billion tokens per month, regardless of what Ripple wants. They can choose to relock it, but they have no control over the escrow. That's the point of the escrow. So it's obvious this person hasn't done, but if you could, is there a way that Ripple could cause this magical liquidity shock that's going to, send XRP to, $589 or $10,000?
Mike, can you explain to everyone the escrow mechanism and
Yeah.
how it is that Ripple is essentially dumping on their holders every month?
Absolutely. So again, it was one of the first utility tokens that I was investing in because back then there wasn't RLUSD and stuff like that. So I'm very knowledgeable about the XRP ledger, Ripple, XRP itself, RLUSD, all of it, and the escrow. The escrow, they were gifted. Ripple was gifted the XRP ledger and a massive amount of XRP that is in the escrow. An escrow is basically a lock. And part of the smart contract is, or not smart contract, but part of the operation of it is that each month 1 billion tokens unlocks. Ripple has over time sold off portions of that and bought other companies. That's how funding operations. These offices that they have in San Francisco and New York and all around the world, and Brad Garlinghouse's salary, and all these different things are paid for by that liquidity. And they can choose, and sometimes they choose to relock a portion or all of it if they don't need that, that liquidity. But that's basically the escrow.
Got it. So it seems to me as though they have created a quasi security and then they dump that quasi security in order to raise dollars. And then they use those dollars to buy other businesses and
Mhm.
then they launch no products. except for a stable coin, but they launched that product on Ethereum.
Well,
That's what it
and
looks like.
I want to dig deeper on what you just said. You said quasi security. So explain why you feel it's a quasi security. Because I know why I do, but I want to see if it matches.
I mean, it just looks like they issued a token, um, and it looks like here. Let me go ahead and just get the definition of a
Well,
security real
here
quick.
let me tell you what I know, and then you can maybe pick it apart that way. So a security. There was a court case. It was the SEC against Ripple. It went on for years, and it was suppressing the price of XRP. Judge Torres, the female judge that was overseeing the court proceedings, ruled that retail sales of XRP was not a security because it did not pass the Howey test. We can look up what the Howey test is. It's a bunch of legal jargon. But the reason that I see it as that it's an issue, it actually would have been better for token holders if it was a security. Because if it was a security, your XRP would basically be a stock in the company of Ripple, and they would have a legal obligation to ensure that you profited from holding their stock/token. However, it was ruled to be not a security for retail, but it was for institutions. So institutions have a stake in Ripple, but us, the peons, don't. So you're basically holding a meme coin.
Yeah, so I actually typed into Gemini just now, how is XRP a quasi security?
Okay.
And it turns out that they refer to this as a Schrodinger's security. Okay.
Okay.
And
Schrodinger's cat. Okay, go
right,
ahead.
they call
Oh
it a
yeah.
Schrodinger's security. I had no idea
Is
about
the
this.
cat dead or is it alive in the box? We don't know.
I don't know, man. You got to look in the box. But so XRP's status shifts based on the context of the transaction. So it is not a formal legal category, that quasi security in the US Securities Act, but rather it's a description of how XRP status shifts based on the context of the transaction. So here's the split status. You've got institutional sales and you've got programmatic sales. So
Yes.
according to the court, XRP itself is just a digital code. It's
Yep.
not a security in and of itself.
Mhm.
However, it can be sold as part of a security. This created that dual identity, that Schrodinger's cat token.
Yep.
So you got the institutional sales, that legal classification is as a security. And
Yep.
the reason why is because that direct sales to hedge funds or VCs, it's governed by written contracts. Buyers expected Ripple to use the money to increase XRP's value. That's never happened. And then you've got the programmatic sales, which are non-security. So those are anonymous sales on public exchanges like Coinbase. Buyers didn't know their money was going to Ripple, so there was no common enterprise under the law. So here we go.
That was one of the pillars of the Howey test. Keep going.
So here's why it's a quasi. So, dude, I thought that I just made up that term quasi security. It
No,
turns
it's
out
a
that's
thing.
like a legal definition
Yeah,
here.
no, it's a thing.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a thing. I thought I just made it up. So the quasi label arises because XRP occupies a middle ground that traditional finance doesn't have. It's not a stock. Okay, so if you buy Apple stock, it's always a security. It's
Yes.
not gold. Gold is a commodity.
Yes.
XRP is, according to the court, situational. So its securityness depends entirely on the way it is sold. So
Mhm.
this makes it a quasi security because it doesn't fit neatly into either bucket permanently. So
Basically, if it's sold to institutions, it's a security. If it's sold to retail through a centralized exchange, it's not.
that's some bullshit. That's some
Yeah.
bullshit, dude.
Yeah.
So
Basically, it was bad news. I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't fully understand it. Again, I'm not claiming that I know everything about everything all the time. I'm sharing the knowledge that I have, and it has to evolve. If you're not open to new knowledge, then you're going to be somebody else's exit liquidity. So
yeah, man. And here's what it says about that Howey test. So it says the role of the Howey test to determine if something is a security, the SEC uses the Howey test. So
Mhm.
XRP is considered quasi because it satisfies different parts of the test depending on the buyer. So investment of money is always met. People pay for XRP.
Yep.
Common enterprise, it's met for institutions who sign contracts with Ripple, but not met for retail. Dude, who the fuck is this judge? Like, who is Annalisa Torres? Because this ruling is retarded, dude.
Well,
Um,
it was celebrated by the XRP community. There was a whole party in New York City that Ripple hosted, and they
I know,
invited
but
all
this,
the XRP, people that shill like their, there are XRP maxi channels.
bro, it
They
doesn't make
invited
any
them
sense though.
all. What's that?
This makes no sense. Like, how is it a security if they sell it to an institution, but not a security if
Well,
they dump it on retail?
probably because of that Howey test pillar that has to do with the what? How is it that you phrased it? Not right now, sweetheart. Um, that 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 the contract, that basically the person buying it, there's a contract between the issuer, Ripple, and the buyer that there is, that the basically that there's a contract, because if you're buying it from a centralized exchange, you're buying it through an intermediary or a third party, and there is no contractual obligation for Ripple to ensure that you profit. You're basically just buying a gas token. It's program, it's code. So it's a good thing for a lot of other projects, but if an institution buys it from Ripple and there's a contract between them that we're buying this, and it's, and there's certain legal verbiage that not insinuates, because if they do a legal contract, it's not going to insinuate. It's going to be very pointed in its verbiage, but that there is a legal obligation for Ripple to ensure that they profit from holding it, which I can see why they would do that. And this is just my brain working. If Ripple enters into these contracts and they could get these companies to buy large amounts of XRP, then one, they get revenue, because they were actually recently selling off the escrow to come up with large amounts of money. So they were basically selling off this escrow that we were talking about, so that they could. I want to say that they were starting a treasury, like an XRP treasury, and which boggled my mind, because basically what they were doing is they were selling off rights to the escrow so that they could make it liquid without dumping it on the market. And
So,
there was the gate to where they only got 1 billion per month. So it was a roundabout way for them to access um that whole what the hell? I just forgot the word. That whole escrow, to access that the liquidity of that entire escrow at the same time.
so
So
Mike,
that was shady as hell to me.
dude, it looks super shady, man. It looks super shady. So, I'm just reading through this, and it looks to me as though that ruling by Judge Annalisa Torres basically made it legal for Ripple to dump XRP on retail, but
Yeah.
illegal for Ripple to dump XRP on institutions.
Yeah.
That's basically what it looks like.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
like,
It
how
just
does that make any sense, man?
it doesn't, and again, I celebrated it because I was, told for years that if, Ripple won the case, that XRP was gonna go to, some astronomical number. And again, this was before RLUSD, and it barely moved. And that's when I started getting suspicious. And I started, watching, and there's always this bit of cheese. There's always this carrot that if this happens, XRP is going to $10,000. And they kept, leading you down the road. And it's been going on now for long before I got into crypto. But yeah, anyway, it just got to a point to where I was like, enough. And I had seen enough, and I had learned enough to to understand that there's much better projects out there that have much better tokenomics, much better fundamentals, that have a much better chance of being profitable, to get into something with such a high market cap that fundamentally is, so shady?
Yeah, so I think it's probably a good idea to read about the judge also.
Yeah,
Um, because just taking a look at this judge, man, like, bro, I see red flags all over this, man. Um,
I never looked into the judge.
yeah, yeah, I see red flags everywhere, bro. I'd rather not get into that live on air, but
Yeah, no,
especially
and
not during this call.
like I
Um,
said, I am not saying anything about, the company Ripple or any individual. I'm just saying these are facts that, we're just stating facts. We're not making any hypotheses, and, we're not, we're not slinging mud. We're just stating facts. There is an escrow. There's a 1 billion token unlock every month. There's, the court, that whole judgment is 100%, on, public record. Go ahead, go check it out.
yeah,
Everything that we stated here is fact. There is, not personal opinion. There's no slander going on here, anything like that. It's, so I'm always very careful about that. I don't say things unless there's, you know, evidence of it that you can find yourself online. So I challenge you, if you don't believe me, if you don't believe what David's saying, please go out and do your own research, which you should have done already before you bought into any project, not just XRP.
yeah.
We talked about it yesterday, due diligence.
You,
Do
you
your
gotta, you really have to be able to say in one sentence what it is that the asset that you're investing in does. What
Yeah.
does XRP do?
It pays gas.
Like, so Bitcoin is decentralized money. That's what Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
It's
Peer
hard,
to
de-
peer. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard decentralized money.
It's in the first
Tether,
line of the white paper.
there you go, man. And Tether is basically on-chain cash.
Yeah.
USDT is on-chain cash.
It's a
Same thing with
digital dollar.
Circle.
It's a digital
Yeah.
dollar. Yeah.
Ethereum is a smart contract distributed ledger. It is, a virtual compute machine. That's what Ethereum is, that runs smart contracts.
Yeah.
XRP is just a scam token.
Well,
That's what it
yeah.
is.
Well, by the way, Vitalik Buterin was an intern at Ripple like forever ago, and he left Ripple and started Ethereum. Little bit of trivia for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of interesting to learn about the interconnectedness of all these guys. It's a very small community, man, I will
Well,
say.
that's why I love Colin so much. He was, very early on in AVAX. I believe he was one of the original founders or something like that, or the original part of the original team. So yeah, he has a lot of really cool stories about early crypto. But Vitalik Buterin, I definitely not a massive fan of his, but
Did
he
you
was
see that one
smart.
picture of him, bro, with that, like his girlfriend or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. But
That's hilarious, dude.
he was smart enough to understand and see forward the importance and the necessity for smart contracts. And that's why he built Ethereum. It was the first chain with smart contracts.
Now, Mike, you know what I've gotten into recently is Bitcoin Lightning and
The
Noster.
Lightning Network, yeah.
Bro, I love it. Love it. It's amazing, man. It
It's the only thing
really
that
is.
allows Bitcoin to be used for payments, really.
It really is. It really is, man. But it's not. It's the best payments protocol. Period. Like 40 million transactions per second, basically free,
Mhm,
basically instantaneous, global, censorship resistant,
mhm.
and
And it still
true.
uses the highly secure backbone of the Bitcoin network.
Exactly, that's true sovereignty right there. I love it, man. I love it. And building on top of it is something else. So hopefully, in the next couple of days, I'll have some type of an MVP to share with everyone. But
Nice. Well,
yeah, man,
we got 30 minutes left. I know I burned through a bunch of it with this topic, but it's so important to understand that scams, and not to say that these projects are necessarily scams, but it's so important that there's this shades of gray. Well, I'll say where yes, there's some projects out there that are straight scams, and some that just through, and I don't mean this in as an insult, but through ignorance, a lot of people allow themselves to be taken advantage of, and that's why we stress so strongly here, and why me and David are trying to teach you all, and we're going back to the basics here, is it's so important that you understand what you're investing in and you do your own research, your due diligence, to look at the tokenomics and how is it that the fees generated by the protocol or by the chain is shared with token holders. Because if there isn't something in there that does that, you are buying a meme coin. It doesn't matter how successful the chain is or the project. So, David, take it away.
All righty, man. So let's go ahead and hop right in. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to hop to it. Don't get me wrong. I could literally dump on XRP for the rest of the day and it would be a great day. But
anybody who's watched me for more than 5 minutes knows I can go off about XRP forever.
Oh, dude, I could do it forever. And we could even go and, maybe talk about some other projects too. But let's hop in here too.
I'll say this one last thing. I challenge anyone out there to prove me wrong about anything I say about XRP. I challenge you. If you're an XRP maxi and you see this, I have offered to let people come on the show and debate me on it. But you need to have proof. And I'm not going to get into the throwing insults at each other. Like the one guy saying I have an IQ of 7. Well, cool, whatever. That has no bearing on XRP or Ripple.
Dude, I see these massive social media accounts, huge followings, pushing basically scams.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if in some, man, I wonder because I've heard rumors about, these influencers getting, big checks to push this type of content about XRP. And it's like, I don't know if any of that is true or not, but it really wouldn't surprise me at all.
It wouldn't me either, because there's a lot of really big channels out there with huge followings, and all they talk about, I mean, literally all they talk about is XRP. So I have nothing, to base that off of. It's just my gut feeling, because I mean, they make massive amounts of money somehow, because they have a staff of people that are running the show. Like I said, basically they just have huge overhead. They have studios, they have massive teams that do their marketing, and they edit their shows and do all this different stuff. And how are they paying for all that? I mean, I know I run a show and it costs me money to do this. And I get contacted constantly by projects saying, hey, we'd love to do a partnership, and we'll pay you to to talk about our product. And I tell them, no, I'm not that channel. We're gonna give facts here, and if I don't make money doing the show, so be it.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I mean, doing this education, like my goal doing this is to put out the best crypto and DeFi education in the English language. That's my goal. And, if that means taking some heat from people about, like they like token A and I don't like token A or whatever it is, that's totally fine, man. Just, you got to build your skill set. You've got to build your skill set. And I think it's apropos that we're talking here about staying safe in crypto. And we just spent the first apropos, right?
Man, big word.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
Words, David. You got to
like Mike, like, dude, I know how to use that word in context, but if you asked me to define it, I wouldn't even be able to tell you what the hell that means. All I know is that it's like basically it means like that's right along, like in line with, like what we're going, and we're talking about staying safe in crypto. That is in line with the earlier conversation about Ripple and XRP. So you got to be able to detect these scams. And dude, Ripple and XRP, they put out all of the red flag signals, all of
Mm.
them. So
Well,
let's go ahead and yeah.
and since we burned up some of the time, David, if you're free, we can go over. We can go over time. I don't have anything after this.
Oh yeah, no. So I'm going to be picking up my car. It's coming
Oh,
from
okay. Go ahead.
California.
No, go ahead.
So yeah, so let's go ahead and run through defeating fake support scams. So I'm pretty sure that didn't we get started on this one yesterday, Mike?
We did. We did.
I think so.
Hey
I think so.
everyone, and welcome.
So let me go ahead and just get this rocking and rolling, and that way we
I
can.
want to say we were about halfway through it.
I thought so. I thought we were about halfway through. So let me go ahead and hit play here. Tell me, does this ring? Yeah, there we go. So this is we're getting closer. So let me just go like the first 2 minutes in here.
There we go. There we go.
Something like this. Here we go.
Their entire game plan in just 4 moves. First, they find someone in distress. That's you, the target. Second, they make contact, almost always in a private DM to isolate you. Third, they work hard to gain your trust with a professional-looking profile and convincing lingo. And finally, the whole point of the operation, they extract value. And by value, I mean your crypto. So where exactly are these digital predators lurking? Well, they're hanging out in all the places you'd expect. They're constantly scanning project discords, Twitter threads, Telegram groups, anywhere that real users go to ask for help. Any post that starts with "help me" or "my transaction failed" is like a flare being shot up into the sky, and it gets their attention immediately. Once they've gotten you talking and they've built up a little trust, they move in for the kill. This is what it's all been leading up to. What do they actually want from you? It almost always boils down to one of these things, each one designed to give them total control of your funds. Okay, so we know their playbook. Now it's time for the most critical skill you can learn: how to tell the good guys from the bad guys. And honestly, the difference is like night and day, but only if you know what to look for. So let's put a real support message right next to a fake one. Okay, just look at the difference here. On the left, the imposter slides into your DMs first.
Okay, so that is always, 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 always a red flag. If you've got some person, DMing you, either a text message or an email or a DM on Discord or on Telegram
Hey,
or on
player.
X, exactly, any of these platforms, if you get someone DMing you, saying like, hey, I'm going to help you solve that problem that you were posting about, that person is likely a scammer. Okay, so that's number one right off the bat. That's one of the biggest red flags there.
Uses a fake-looking name, tries to send you to a sketchy website, and then asks for the ultimate prize, your recovery phrase.
Yeah, look, if someone sends you a DM on any social media platform and then they say, click this link, and then that link asks for your recovery phrase, your seed phrase,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like, please don't ever fall for that. Please.
They're
never.
like, show me your goodies.
Don't do it.
Every single one of those is a giant red flag. Now look at the right. The real support team replies in public, they use their verified account, they point you to the official help center, and they make their policy crystal clear. We will never DM you first. All right, let's nail this down. These are the red flags you need to burn into your brain. Ask yourself, did they DM me first? Are they trying to make me panic, telling me I have to act right now? Are they asking for the keys to the kingdom, your seed phrase? Or are they asking you to click a link, sign a transaction, or share your screen? If you answer yes to any of that, it's game over. You're talking to a scammer.
Right.
I'm going to pause right here, because if you only remember one single thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. There are absolutely zero exceptions to this rule. Your seed phrase is for your eyes only. Think of it as the master key to your entire financial life in crypto. No one, not a dev, not the CEO, not support, ever needs it for any reason.
And so, Mike, we've gone over this time and time again over the last couple of weeks here. And the reason is we don't want people to ever fall victim to these scammers. Look, if someone asks you for your seed phrase and it's not your mother, okay? Like even if your mother asks you for your seed phrase, I don't know.
These days, not even your mom, because shit with AI, they can like freaking scrape, her social media and basically make it, she'll know everything about you and where you're from. And I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff they can do with AI now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Let me take that back. Never give your seed phrase to anyone ever. Period. Full stop. If anyone asks you for it, that person is trying to scam you.
I will say for my brother Taylor, this is something that he stresses, is ensure that like when you do your will or your trust or anything like that, that there's some mechanism in there, like a safety deposit box or something where it's stamped into metal, like David says, that it's stored somewhere. So if something happens to you, that your loved ones can get access to that. So I'll leave that.
That is super important. We got to think about that because, we're talking here about how to avoid scams, but at the same time, there are legitimate ways for you to give access to your private keys, your seed phrase to a family member or a loved one, maybe through an attorney, through a will or through a trust. Because when we die, the whole point of building wealth in crypto is so that your family can benefit. So when we die, don't you want your assets?
I'm doing it because I want to be rich. I want hookers and flow, man.
One Lambo. One Lambo.
Okay, we've dissected the attack. Now it's time to build our defense. I want to give you a simple but really powerful mental checklist that you can run through anytime someone claiming to be support contacts you. Let's call it your personal scam-proof shield. The real power of this shield is just how simple it is. It's just a few quick questions you ask yourself before you click, before you type, before you approve anything. That little 5-second pause can literally save you from losing everything. All right, shield check number 1. Who started this conversation? Just remember, real support is reactive. You have a problem, so you go to their official site and open a ticket. They do not have teams of people hunting through social media to find people to help in DMs. You know who does?
Right.
Scammers.
Right.
Shield check number 2. You guessed it, it's the golden rule. Is this conversation moving anywhere near them asking for your seed phrase? If the words seed phrase, recovery phrase, or private keys even come up, the conversation is done. It is a scam 100% of the time. No exceptions. Okay, third check. Are they asking for access to your stuff? Real support can give you instructions for sure, but they never need to literally see your screen or have you sign some random security transaction to fix a problem.
Never.
That's just a trick to get you to either approve a wallet-draining transaction or accidentally show them information they shouldn't see. And the final check, where are you standing right now? If they send you a link, you have to look at that URL very, very carefully. Scammers are experts at making convincing fakes that are maybe just one letter off from the real thing. The safest bet? Don't click links from them at all. Always go to the official site yourself.
Right.
So the final verdict is incredibly simple. If you answered yes to even one of those shield check questions, congratulations, you've found a scammer. You don't need to argue with them. You don't need to call them out. Just block, report, ignore. You've successfully defended the attack. So what is the right way, the only safe way to get help? It's so simple. You are always the one who starts the conversation. And you always start it from the one single source of truth, the project's official website. You navigate there yourself, you find their help or support page, and you follow their process. That's it. Any other way is walking into a danger zone. Okay, let's wrap this up with the absolute must-know takeaways. Number 1, you start the conversation with real support. Scammers start it with you. Number 2, your seed phrase is sacred. It is for your eyes only. 3, urgency is just a tactic they use to rush you into making a mistake. And 4, when in doubt, just stop. Take a breath, close the chat, and go find the official channels yourself. So there you have it. You now have the knowledge, you have the tools, you have the shield to protect yourself from this nasty scam. The only question left is, how can you help protect the rest of the community? Share this info. When you see someone new asking for help online, you can be the one who points them in the right direction and helps them build their own shield.
So that last point, Mike, is really important because there are so many people just getting started in crypto and in DeFi who don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what to avoid. Like, I would say 9 times out of 10, as you're getting started, I think the most important thing is not necessarily even knowing what to do, but knowing what not to do. Like, knowing what not to do is probably more valuable as you're getting started. So how in the world do you learn what not to do? Well, I've created at DeFi University a ton of, yeah, man, like just consume the free educational material. Like, when you've got a need to know, when you're learning about crypto and DeFi for the first time, you have this need to know. So all you got to do is seek out free educational material that is of high quality and go
Mhm.
through it. And so that's what we're doing every single day at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And you can go through all this material yourself on your own. This stuff is totally free. So yeah,
Well,
just
and again, just, the link down below, if you wanna go to it and learn this stuff before you make the mistakes. Don't make the
right.
mistakes and then be like, "Oh, shit, I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm gonna go learn about it." I mean, again,
Exactly.
every one of our episodes, it doesn't matter just this show on, Money Talks, on the Red Pill, all of them have the links to David's DeFi course. They have the links to Metrics Finance where, you can track your DeFi portfolio and simulate positions. David has a bunch of tools that you can use to build out your portfolio and to, track how profitable it could be and, to track your loops and, things like that. There's so many free, and all of this is free, free tools that you can use to, increase your chances of success. Not guarantee,
Yeah,
but
100%.
increase.
Yeah, Mike, and the thing is that you don't need to pay for this educational content. It
No.
really just comes down to like how much do you want it? Like because I can't want it more than you. Like how badly do you want to build your crypto and DeFi skill set?
You're willing to invest your money, your time, I mean, that's what money is, a representation of the time that you spend at a job or whatever. Are you willing to invest the time in yourself, in the knowledge? Because this is the only thing that can't be taken away from you. You can lose money, but your knowledge, your skill sets, and this goes into, homesteading and emergency preparedness and, all that stuff. You can have all the sexy gadgets and, pay a bunch of money for sexy gadgets to do your investing and stuff like that, but that's not going to make you successful. It just means you're going to have to make more money to, before you become profitable because you have all that overhead. This is where you want to start. And with, like David said, good quality education, free
Yep,
education.
exactly. It really just comes down to you. How badly do you want it?
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and let's move on here, Mike, to lesson 5. And let's learn a little bit about seed phrase security. So I think, oh, you know what? Maybe I think what I may have done here is I may have messed up with the lesson video here. So I think that could be a mistake. You see that? How lesson 5 and lesson 4, it looks
Oh,
like a very similar video. So I'm going to go ahead and pass over lesson 5 here for the moment so that I have some time to fix it after our call. And why don't we check in on lesson 6 here? So this is spotting fake websites. And this is a thing. There's a lot of these out there. Now, it used to be a bigger thing back in 2023 and 2024, I would see fake websites all the time. And almost always it would be based off of some type of Google Ads link. When I would use Google search looking for something to do with crypto, the first way that you can spot this stuff is just by taking a look at the URL. You've got to know, number one, what the legitimate URL is for the crypto or DeFi DApp or website or app that you're looking to access. As long as you know the legitimate URL, then all you got to do is take a look in the URL bar and see, hey, is this real or not?
and,
Because the
and once you're
scammers,
sure, bookmark it so that
exactly.
you never have to, there's almost no way for them to, mess with that, unless they fully hack your computer and they're able to change that bookmark. But it's the best way.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just a matter of checking the URL before you do any operation.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. Spotting fake websites.
You know that feeling, right? That little knot in your stomach just before you connect your wallet to a new site? That split second of, wait a minute, is this legit? Well, that feeling, it ends today. In this explainer, we're going to build a super simple but really powerful habit that's going to let you navigate the crypto world with actual confidence. So let's dive in. Okay, let's start with a quick pop quiz. No pressure. Take a look at these two scenarios. In situation A, you click a Google ad. Looks fine. In situation B, you use a bookmark you already saved. One of these is a trap. The other is safe. Now, you probably have a gut feeling about which is which, but the most important part is knowing why. And I'll give you a hint. It has almost nothing to do with what you see on the page. And that right there, that's the scary part. It is the entire game scammers play. These people are like master artists when it comes to digital forgery. They can cook up a pixel for pixel perfect copy of a legit website. I mean, it's kind of spooky. The logo, the buttons, the colors, everything can be an exact match. So, what does that tell you? It tells you that your eyes can't be trusted. They're just not the right tool for this job. But here's the good news, and it is really good news. No matter how perfect their little illusion is, every single scammer leaves behind one clue, a single piece of evidence that they literally cannot fake. There is one unbreakable source of truth that just slices right through all the deception. And today, we're going to learn how to spot it. All right, first things first, let's name our enemy. What we're dealing with here are called spoofed websites. And look, they have one purpose and one purpose only: to look real enough to trick you into connecting your wallet so they can drain it.
Right.
Simple as that. Knowing what they're called is the first step to making sure they never, ever win. And this analogy right here is the key to understanding, well, pretty much everything. Think of a website's URL, that address at the top of your browser, like a real world street address. It's not just a name, it's a unique location on the map of the internet. So if you're supposed to be at 123 Main Street, but you show up at 132 Main Street, you're at the wrong place. End of story. It doesn't matter if they painted the building the exact same color. And that's it. That is the unbreakable clue. A scammer can copy the paint color, the sign on the front door, the welcome mat. They can make it look absolutely identical. But the one thing they can never do is occupy the real address. They can't just move into 123 Main Street. The real uniswap.org is a unique location, so the scammer has to set up their fake shop at a different address.
So, how do we find the legitimate URLs for these crypto and DeFi dApps that we want to operate on? It's really, really easy. Hop on over to DeFi Llama. That's a pretty good source of truth for legitimate crypto and DeFi dApp URLs. And then once you've navigated to the dApp that you want to operate on, bookmark it. And then you don't have to do that ever again. You always know, hey, this is the legit URL because I saved it in my bookmarks.
Even if it's just one tiny letter off. Okay, so if the URL, the address, is our ultimate source of truth, then we need to get really good at reading it, right? It's time to become detectives. Let's decode this digital address and learn how to spot those little telltale signs that scammers are forced to leave behind. You see that long string of text in the address bar? Well, it all boils down to one critical piece: the domain. That's the unique name of the property. For now, you can pretty much ignore the HTTPS part and everything that comes after the first slash. The true identity of the website, where you really are, lives in that little bit of text right before the .com or .org or whatever it is.
So if you navigate to uniswap.com, you are on the wrong site.
Mm-hmm.
The legit URL is uniswap.org.
Mm-hmm.
So all you've got to do is make 100% certain.
Easy mistake to make, though.
It is. It is an easy mistake to make. And I'm sure that a lot of people have made that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So all you got to do is just make sure before you connect your wallet to any crypto or DeFi dApp, you've got to be 100% positive that you're on the right URL. The easiest way to do that is just to hop on over to DeFi Llama and get the URL that way. And I can share with you how to do that. It only takes a second. So if we hop on over here to DeFi Llama, and the URL for DeFi Llama is defilama.com. And let's say that I want to find the URL for Uniswap. Piece of cake, right? I type in Uniswap in the search bar here. It's going to be that first result. And then after I've clicked through, now I've got some data about Uniswap here. I scroll down, you see where it says protocol information down here? All I want to do is click on website. That's the legit link to app.uniswap.org. So really, all you need is uniswap.org. And then all I want to do here is I want to go ahead and make sure I've got it bookmarked. And I do. I've got this bookmarked. So I never need to question ever again, am I on the right website or not?
Mhm.
Do I have the right URL or not? I know I do because I bookmarked it. So that's how you do it. Really, really simple. And this is the best practice for staying safe when it comes to visiting the right websites. But this is something that I see people do all the time. They'll hop on over here to Google. They'll go to Google and they'll say, what's the website URL for Uniswap? Something like that. And then they'll scroll down and they'll look for the URL. So look, there's the legit URL, uniswap.org. But I would never go to Reddit to find the
No.
correct. Never.
And definitely don't go to Discord.
Don't do that. And don't go to Google either. Like, you should not be going to Google when you're searching for crypto or DeFi DApp URLs.
Nope.
You should really be going to DeFi Llama instead. And then bookmark the sites. Piece of cake.
And here is a simple, powerful trick that will help you never get fooled again. Ready? Read the domain from right to left. Yeah, backwards. So let's look at this example, uniswap.fakesite.org. If we start from the end and read backwards from the .org, what's the first thing we hit? Fake site. That's the true owner of
I
That's so
never would
funny.
have caught that. I never would have caught that.
That is so funny. I mean, really great piece of advice though, to read backwards, from right to left rather than left to right. I like that. That's really smart.
the website. The Uniswap part at the beginning, that's just a decoy. It's a fake room they built on someone else's property to trick you. So now that we know their secret, let's open up the scammer's playbook. They're not actually that creative. They tend to use the same few tricks over and over again. You'll see subtle misspellings, like using an R and an N together because it kind of looks like an M if you're not paying attention. They'll add extra words like app or wallet to the domain. They'll use weird extensions like .xyz instead of .com. And of
Mhm.
course, there's that fake subdomain trick we just busted.
So .xyz, .io, .fi, .finance,
Yeah.
those URLs actually, in my opinion, don't necessarily signal scam
No,
because
because like
yeah,
aerodrome.fi, that's the
right.
legitimate, website, for Uniswap. It's uniswap.org. It does vary. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
again, some due diligence on your part that needs to be done.
Yeah, so just taking a look and seeing that it's .xyz or .fi or .finance or something other than .com, that does not signal that it's a scam at all.
Once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them.
But the subdomains, so this is something that they like to do. So it'll be because people don't know what a subdomain is, and they think that, oh, it says Coinbase, so it must be Coinbase that I'm visiting. When
Mhm.
really it will be something like Coinbase dot investor.com or whatever
Ye
they want the fake
Yeah,
site
it
thing to
doesn't
be.
necessarily have to say fake site. It can say
Right.
anything.
Yeah. So this will be the main domain, and this is going to be a subdomain. So this is actually something that these scammers like to do a lot.
It
You'll
it
see
it
them.
could say coinbase.basenetwork.com, I mean,
Right.
it doesn't just jump out at you as fake. I mean, you could be like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, Base Network, that's what I'm wanting to work with anyway, so, it's gonna take me directly to the Base Network." If you don't know a whole lot about crypto, it'd be easy to fall for something like that.
Oh, 100%. And the misspellings, that used to be a really big thing too. And I think it still is, where instead of aerodrome.fi, it would be aerodrome.finance
Mhm,
or aerodrome.com
mhm.
or aerodrome.org or
Or like
maybe
you said,
just
misspell it, instead of an M on aerodrome, it could be an N,
right.
or so it's like, if you're just glancing at it really quick, you might not catch that.
Right. Yeah. So, when you're just getting started, it really pays to move slowly, to,
Mm.
just verify every step. Look, this stuff can be very complex. So you don't have to try to run through it, at the speed of light. You
I'll
should.
I'll I'll give you a saying
Mm,
that we said in the military. slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You shouldn't be in a hurry with everything. And in this, in the context that we talk about it is basically in physical movement. So like if you're doing like close quarters combat or something like that, CQB, and you're going through rooms, you don't just start rushing and going as fast as you can. You go slow, you get the muscle memory. You move through. Everybody has their role and they do their things, and you're just doing it slow and methodical. And then as you build that muscle memory and get better, yes, you can speed up a little bit. But in this case, you should just stay slow, steady, unemotional, smooth. If the markets are crashing, you might, forget some of these best practices. And you might, because you're in a rush to get on there and sell, you might make the mistake of going to the wrong URL or something like that. Or you might have gotten a notification that the markets are crashing. Click this link, to sell your bag or whatever. And because you're emotional and in a hurry, you skip past all your best practices. So
Yeah, just it really pays to move slowly and deliberately and just verify that that you're on the right site and you're doing the right operation at the right time. And hey, if markets are crashing, you might want to think about buying, depending on the asset that you're talking about. But
yes,
you might want to think about being a bit of a contrarian, if markets are really crashing.
all the
Um,
best investors preach that, buy
yeah,
when there's blood in the streets, just, buy when everyone else is selling, sell when everyone else is buying, yeah, it's, when other people are bullish, be bearish. When people are bearish, be bullish.
exactly, exactly. And so, Mike, I think we've got like 2.5 minutes left. Let's see if we can run through
Uh,
this real quick. But yeah, man, just be on the lookout for this stuff and move slowly.
All right, so we've got the theory down. We can spot their little tricks. Now for the most important part. How do we turn this knowledge into an automatic, unbreakable habit? This is your 5-step safety check. Let's lock it in. Seriously, this needs to become muscle memory. Number 1, meticulously check the URL. I mean, really read every single character every single time. 2, the gold standard. Use your bookmarks. Find the correct site once, bookmark it, and then only use that bookmark. It completely eliminates the risk of a bad search. 3, be deeply suspicious of links sent to you from DMs, emails, wherever. Just don't click them. 4, if you absolutely have to, type the address in yourself letter by letter. And finally, 5, that wallet prompt that pops up, that's your last line of defense. Make sure the domain it shows is the one you intended to visit. But your defense doesn't just stop at the URL. There's another layer. You have to watch for these critical red flags during the connection process itself. And listen to me on this one. If a website ever asks for your seed phrase, it is a scam. 100% of the time. There are 0 exceptions. It is always a scam. Also, watch out for weird transaction details, requests for unlimited spending approvals, or anything that just feels off. When in doubt, reject and close the tab. Trust your gut. So you see, the crucial point here is that this goes way beyond a simple checklist. Following these steps every single time helps you build a new instinct, a new mindset for how you move around the web. You're basically forging your own digital armor. Think about it. When are you most vulnerable? It's when you're rushing for a mint, feeling that FOMO kicking in, or you're just distracted. Those are the exact moments scammers prey on. So the real goal here is to make these safety checks so deeply ingrained that they become automatic, an unconscious habit that protects you even when you're not fully focused. And what's the actual cost of this powerful protection? What do you have to invest? 10 seconds, maybe less. That's all it takes, 10 seconds to pause, to read the address, and to verify you're in the right place. 10 seconds to potentially save everything in your wallet. So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. The potential cost of a mistake is immense. The cost of prevention is almost nothing. So when you weigh those two things, you just have to ask yourself, what really is cheaper than 10 seconds?
Just move slowly, move deliberately, make sure that you're on the right URL. Make sure that when you connect your wallet, if you go to sign any transactions, that everything looks good to you. Make sure that if you're going to sign a spending cap, that it's not unlimited, that you only sign the spending cap for the amount that you want to spend. And then after you're done operating, revoke that spending cap.
Mhm.
And when you're taking a look and you're looking for support, make sure that you are going directly to the legitimate site. never respond to any DM about, offering support. That will always be a scam. So it really just comes down to moving slowly and knowing what to avoid as you're getting started here. So, this staying safe in crypto course, this is definitely worth reviewing a couple of times, not just
Yes.
once. So,
Well,
yeah,
and I'll give my quick final thought because I know we're out of time. But now is the time to develop the habits that are going to carry you through your crypto investing or investing career. And so take the time now because it takes time to develop a habit, 30, 60, 90 days. So make a list, a checklist of, your rules. I'm huge on this. Make a list of your rules of what you do during transactions, when you interact with these protocols and things like that, and stick to that so that if you catch yourself getting in a hurry, you're not going to miss a check. You're not going to miss a step. And maybe that's something that we can build and, share with the community. But again, build good habits now so that if the markets ever do pump and you feel that emotion starting to well in you, that again, you can just go down your checklist. I'm going to go to this site. This is the proper URL. Once I'm there and I'm connecting my wallet, these are the things that I'm looking for to ensure it's legit. These are the things that, are red flags, and it's just taking you step by step through the process, very methodical, very logical. So I'll end with
yeah,
that.
yeah. So, Mike, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So,
Mhm.
as long as you're able to build the habit of, just making sure that you visit the right website, making sure that you never fall for any of those scams, making sure that you know what to look for, what these
It's an
scammers do.
investing stop loss. It's an
There you
emotional
go.
stop
That's
loss.
all it is, man.
So I appreciate, what? We had a great turnout today. I applaud all of you in this market, having this many people, interested in, crypto and investing content. Hats off to you. It's, you are miles ahead of, other people out there seeking out, good quality information, and getting yourself ready, and doing your due diligence to be successful. So again, hats off to you. Here in about 30 minutes, I'm going to be on the Mario Nufal show. We're going to be, talking about some interesting stuff there on X. If you want to follow, my accounts on X, I'll be, reposting the stream there if you want to watch that. And tonight we have Crypto and Chill with Jeff. David, as always, you're welcome to join us. We're just going to be talking about, the crypto markets and just kind of relaxing. Yeah,
What time is that going to be, Mike?
that's always 5 p.m. Pacific, so 8 p.m. Your time.
Gotcha. Okay. I should be able to hop on for maybe half an hour.
All right. Yeah, no. It's the Crypto and Chills are for people to flow in and out just, whenever. So
Cool, man. I'll see you
I
there.
appreciate y'all. And please, like Ellie said, don't forget to like, follow, and share the content. Again, we don't make money doing this. We're not, paid to do this, but we definitely want to get this information out to people. So please help us grow the channel. It's free to click like, it's free to follow, and it's free to share. So appreciate you. Until next time, Veteran Crypto out.
Peace.